Hello everyone. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our stories.
The journey from the city to the remote mountain village had always seemed like an abstract idea, something found in stories or whispered about in the city's crowded cafes. Yet now, Lynn was living it. The pickup truck crawled along the meandering dirt road, tires slipping in the red mud, while the landscape unfurled like a memory. Forests cloaked in mist, hidden valleys and ridges fading into the pale dawn. When the road could go no further, Lynn stepped out, her boots sinking into cool mud. The air wrapped around her with its raw, living scent. Damp soil, decaying leaves, the lingering sweetness of wildflowers that hid beneath the undergrowth. Ahead, the soft, sloping silhouettes of palm leaf roofs peeked from behind the ancient trunks of pomu trees. Shadows darted in their branches, birds calling and insects droning. Lynn stood for a moment, allowing herself to breathe in this new world. She had come searching for a place to disappear, but more than that. A place to heal wounds she couldn't see, to find peace where the city's brilliant lights had only cast sharper shadows. She felt the weight of her backpack filled with books, stethoscope, spare clothes, a battered notebook, tokens of another life. Not so long ago, that life seemed clear. She was almost done with medical school, poised for a hospital internship, drawn by the shimmering magnetism of the capital. At home, her family had spoken of nothing but her future, of honor, hope, and the joy she might bring as the family's first doctor. But the accident had shattered more than her brother's life. The city's noise, the constant blare of horns, the flash of headlights slicing the night, had become a haunting echo of that one terrible night. There had only been one choice left: to run far as she could, to a place where the mountains might muffle her grief and give her room to remember and to forget. She'd left without ceremony, her absence marked by silence. In her mind there was a litany of what-ifs, of silent apologies, and unshed tears. The health station in Kating was smaller than the supply closet in her old university hospital. Its corrugated iron roof rattled when the wind blew, and daylight leaked between the boards in streams of gold. Mrs. Sia, the old doctor, greeted her with hands worn rough by years and a warm, toothless smile. Her Ada language was melodic, so different from the clipped syllables Lynn grew up with, yet somehow welcoming, woven through with patience like a lullaby. She began the learning anew. How to part hanging plants tied in the rafters, how to tell dried ginger root from forest pepper by smell alone, how to pronounce the Eid names for fever, cough, and pain. The station, though simple, was a haven, its walls lined with rows of hand-filled medicine bottles and the stories of generations. Villagers came with wary eyes, holding children with flushed cheeks and old scarves tied around thin necks. The youngest were daring, tiny feet pattering over the compressed earth, little hands tugging at her sleeves, then laughing and fleeing. She discovered the language of smiles and nods, the way to communicate trust beyond words. Isia took her through the rice paddies and hillside footpaths, to houses shaded by clumps of bamboo and banana. Every visit was a lesson. Together, they packed packets of dried leaves, checked old wounds, took pulses, and listened to the secrets of aching bones. Lynn saw how Isia's hands soothed more than fevers. They brought quiet reassurance, a sense of belonging she realized she had been missing. The rhythm of the village was gentle, measured not by alarms and schedules, but by the crowing of jungle fowl, the rustle of the market, the coming and going of clouds across the peaks. The mountains marked the hours, their shadows lengthening with the setting sun, softening even the hardest day. At night, Lynn sat on the creaky wooden porch of the station, knees drawn close, as the world faded into silence. The stream below the hill called to her, its sound winding through the dark like a whispered story. She let the noise of memory, the harsh blare of sirens, the frantic shouts of physicians, the cry that broke through when her brother fell quiet, ebb away. The stream was soft, persistent, and patient. Villagers told her old legends, the kind passed down beside evening fires. They said the stream was sacred, that its waters flowed from the tears of ancestors. If one listened carefully, on moonlit nights, one might hear voices drifting in the current. Answers for all who dared bring their worries and heartbreak to its edge. That night, Lynn walked a little unsteadily down the path, guided by moonlight on glistening leaves. She settled onto a mossy stone, toes dipping into the cold water, and for the first time in months, let herself be truly silent. She was not waiting for an answer. She only wished to leave her sorrow here, if only for a moment, so that something softer, kinder might take its place. The gentle swirl of the stream around her feet seemed to wrap her in a promise. She closed her eyes, listening as the forest rustled and breathed. Then a memory surfaced from deep inside. Her mother's lullaby, sung years ago beneath mosquito netting while stars blinked through the cracks in their old house. The song was neither sad nor happy, but hopeful, steady, reassuring her that the world kept turning, even when hearts broke. A single tear slipped down her cheek, vanished into the stream's current, and Lynn felt something loosen inside her. A knot beginning to unravel in the presence of ancient water and drifting cloud. Each morning in Kating shimmered with newness. The call of birds, the laughter of children on their way to school, the spicy smoke of wood fires. Every evening signaled not an end, but a promise that tomorrow might be different. The village, with its humble houses and endless trees, became more than just a refuge. For Lynn, it was the beginning of a journey. One that twisted through bamboo groves and grassy ridges, but also led steadily, quietly, into the heart of her own sorrow, and perhaps, with time, toward healing. The forest waited too, patient and endless, ready to accept even the heaviest stories and to hold them gently, like seeds in its mossy hands. On her first night at the Kating Village Health Station, Lynn struggled to find comfort on the old wooden bed under a thin blanket perfumed with the smoky tang of kitchen fires and the green hint of forest leaves. Outside, the chorus of insects sang on, weaving a tapestry of sound that both soothed and unsettled. Beneath it all flowed another current, the soft, continuous murmur of the stream, threading through the silence with an eerie familiarity, as if coming from a world just beyond her grasp. As exhaustion crept in, Lynn drifted unwillingly into sleep. In her dream, everything was shrouded in a pearly mist, the kind that hugs the ground in early morning. The air smelled damp and alive. She found herself standing at the bank of a stream, its waters glistening silver beneath a watchful moon. From the shadows emerged a woman draped in a brocade robe deep as midnight and swirling with spiral patterns, echoing the restless motion of water. Her features were indistinct, veiled by shadow and mist, but what shone clear were her eyes, deep and warm, with a kindness that pierced Lynn's heart. Her hair, long and dark, danced in the unseen wind, and from her lips spilled quiet whispers in a language Lynn had never heard, yet somehow understood. "My child has arrived, don't be afraid." The woman's voice welled up from the water and the air itself, ancient yet gentle, like the way Lynn remembered her own mother singing lullabies in the darkest nights. At that, Lynn awoke suddenly, heart pounding, her forehead slicked with sweat. Night still clung to the treetops outside, the sky faintly smudged with the coming dawn. The dream had left her with more than unease. It filled her with a sensation that was at once unsettling and tender, as though a door she had not known existed had been quietly unlocked inside her. With the first pale light of morning, Lynn left the little house and ventured down to the stream to wash her face, hoping the cold water would ground her. There she spotted Mrs. Wymone, the eldest in Kating, sitting stooped on her porch, thin hands spreading corn out to dry. Her hair, like drifted snow, caught the sun in soft glimmers. As Lynn approached, Mrs. Wymone raised her gaze, and for a moment her usually weary eyes glinted with uncanny clarity. "Did you dream about something last night?" Mrs. Wymone asked, her voice creaking like bamboo in the wind. Lynn hesitated, then nodded. "I saw her," she replied, though she scarcely knew why or how the old woman understood. "The forest has called you, my dear," Mrs. Wymone said without surprise, gesturing with a nod toward the stream, its surface rippling in the new light. "There is a spirit who dwells there since before any of our memories. Not many see her, only those who wander, whose hearts ache, who are seeking. If she comes, you will never leave unchanged." The old woman pulled Lynn down to sit beside her. The corn spread drying beside their knees and began to tell a story that had been passed down through generations. Long, long ago, she said, a village girl, orphaned and shunned for an illness none could name, found herself alone and desperate beside this very stream. Intent on surrendering her pain, she caught the voice of the water calling her name. The spirit took form, a woman, arms outstretched, who offered solace and healing. That orphan grew to become a healer herself, the shaman and guardian of Kating, and from then onward, those in deepest need might find the spirit beside the running water, if they could listen. Not with their ears, but their heart. As Mrs. Wymone spoke, the gentle hush of the stream became more than background music to Lynn. It began to braid itself through her thoughts. She found, in the hush and trickle, a voice. Not words, but an urging or invitation, ancient and patient. Each time she knelt by the water to bathe her face or wash rice, memories she had buried rose like bubbles to the surface. She saw the cloudless playgrounds of her youth, her mother's hands threading soft wool into patterned scarves, the cheerful bell of her father's ancient bicycle, and the bright, laughing eyes of her little brother, now gone. Strangely, these memories brought not fresh agony, but a slow coolness, as though the water itself was washing her wounds, leaving the ache gentler, her grief lighter to bear. Over the next days and weeks, sleep carried Lynn back again and again, into dreams where the woman waited by the water, silhouetted in the bend of moonlight and mist. Each night, the spirit's eyes seemed to grow more recognizable, echoing warmth that Lynn had known only in the arms of her family. But each time she woke, Lynn kept her secret. She told no one, not even Mrs. Wymone, who watched her with a quiet knowing as Lynn made a habit of visiting the stream at dawn, sitting for long spans of time with her hands letting the current slip through her fingers. Her eyes half closed in contemplation. Wordlessly, Lynn began a journal. Not a simple record of her daily activities, but a dedicated space for the dreams, the things she heard and felt, things she couldn't share aloud. She titled the spirit Mother of the Forest, and with each entry her confusion and sorrow seemed to bloom into something new. Tentative yet resilient, like young shoots pushing through fog-wet soil in the earliest days of spring. In the hush of dawn or under the gentle drizzle of rain, Lynn gradually found calm in the rituals of the village. The rhythm of pounding rice, the laughter of children skating along muddy footpaths, the soft kindness of strangers who grew familiar. In the presence of the stream, she could sense her life widening, the past and present meeting in gentle ripples. The pain of loss now felt softer, more distant, her anger and grief transmuting into understanding, forgiveness, and, little by little, hope. Lynn wondered if the spirit had always existed, waiting for a listener, or if every person's heart, when cracked open by grief, made room for a kind of magic to enter. Whether legend or dream, the experience wove itself around her days, changing how she saw the forest, the village, and her own place within them. By simply listening, not with ears but with her open heart, Lynn found the possibility of beginning again, no longer just a stranger among the hills, but a part of something ancient, enduring, and beautiful. Late afternoon weaves its golden strands through the tangled canopy, bathing the edge of the forest in a gentle haze. Lynn leaves the medical station, her heart still lingering with the weight and warmth of the day's encounters. She walks the familiar path skirting the ancient trees, letting her feet find their rhythm upon the soft earth. Within this hush, she seeks out a peace all her own, a fleeting moment when the voices of the world fade and the pulse of nature emerges steady and clear. Each step draws her nearer to the curved stream, a slender ribbon of water hugging the bamboo grove. The bamboo is old, so much older than the station, older than Lynn's memories can reach. She notices how the stalks whisper against each other above the gentle burble of the flowing water. The air vibrates with the tension of approaching dusk, when the forest prepares itself for secrets and shadows. It is then that Lynn hears the panpipe, a deep, resonant song, neither a melody nor mere sound. It's as if the forest itself has decided to speak, a voice shaped from mist and root and weathered wood. The notes float and twist through the trees, snaking across the stones, painting stories for those willing to sit still and listen. Lynn hesitates, rooted now by the music as much as by her curiosity. She sees a figure then, seated by the stream, poised but relaxed, attentive to both the instrument and the shimmering water. He is young, his frame sturdy and sure, with a curtain of black hair at his nape, tied back not to tame, but to honor. The music rises and falls, and as it does, he lifts his gaze, meeting hers across the rippling silver. There's no alarm in his eyes, only quiet recognition. As though he'd expected her, perhaps even called her here with his song. He sets aside his panpipe, nods in greeting, his voice emerging soft but weighty, the echoes of mountain timbers within it. He knows of Lynn, recognizes her from the station, the place where people turn with fear, hope, or wounds to be healed. In reply to her gentle query, he names himself Irin, and shares that his house stands upon the hill, near the sacred forest's boundary. The name lingers in the air between them, unfamiliar yet intimately suited to the silence. Moved by an impulse she can't quite name, Lynn settles onto the opposite bank. The water flows between them, a clear and living thing, both separation and connection, its gleam a reminder of the mysteries that thrive beyond simple comprehension. She feels as though she has crossed an invisible threshold. On one side, the busy world of noise and numbers and names. On the other, the deep stillness of the mountains, pulsing with stories just beyond reach. So begins a quiet ritual. With each fading sun, Lynn finds her way to the stream, discovering Irin waiting, sometimes playing, sometimes simply sitting, his gaze lost to thought or sky. He has few words, but in every glance and in every sigh of the panpipe, he reveals more. Lynn listens closely, learning to hear not just with her ears, but with her heart, the notes that hint at longing, the pauses that speak of reverence for the land. From him, she learns secrets that no textbook can contain. Irin, the youngest forest keeper, is an inheritor of wisdom come down through countless generations, knowledge of plants that heal or harm, of subtle changes in wind and stone, of the unseen lines that bind grove to glen, animal to earth. Mrs. Y. Moan, the matriarch of the village, calls him guardian of the earth spirit, and Lynn comes to understand why. He carries the forest within him. When he speaks, the leaves seem to hush, listening too. One cool twilight, Irin beckons her beyond their usual meeting place. Branches close in overhead as they wind deeper along secret tracks, the ground rising and falling beneath their feet. Lynn follows willingly, trusting in his instinctive ease with the land. They move in silence, letting the growing dark enfold them, until at last they reach a narrow ravine. Here, the stream fans out into a small lake overlooked by the first shy moonlight. He gestures toward the far bank, where a patch of mossy earth bears delicate white flowers. Polang, their petals ghostly against the deepening blue. Most know these blooms as red, vivid as blood or heartache, but tonight they are pale as breath on glass. Irin explains, in hushed tones so as not to disturb the sacred, a story passed down by careful hands. On full moon nights such as this, the white polang appear only to those who have faced their fears and sought truth within themselves. He lifts the panpipe once more. This melody is softer still, gliding like the water, restless and sure as the wind through the pines. It carries a hush, an invitation. Lynn can almost sense words shaped in the music, a message older than speech. If your heart is calm enough, you will hear the stream tell its stories. If your hands are gentle enough, you will sense the living spirit hidden among the petals. If you are brave enough, the forest will reveal what has been waiting, unseen by all but the most steadfast of souls. Lynn closes her eyes. She lets her fingertips brush the cool surface of the stream, expecting only coldness. But something warmer emerges. A pulse, a living presence. It is as if the forest itself accepts her, weaving her into its breath and memory. Images flicker behind her closed lids. A woman dressed in brocade, moonlight sifting along ancient trails, and the voice of the stream not just murmuring, but singing, a real, resonant, and ancient song. When she opens her eyes, she sees Irin watching her, his expression unreadable, both distant and achingly near. There's a gravity in his words as he tells her, quietly but with conviction, that the forest never chooses wrongly. She has been called, chosen because she listens with a rare openness. The responsibility settles upon her shoulders, gentle but sure. Walking back to the village in the moonlit hush, Lin says nothing. Beside her, the mountains unfurl their endless, undulating dark. But within her, something new has awakened. Her heartbeat syncs with the distant, patient rhythms of earth and stream and sky as she senses, perhaps for the first time, what it means to belong, not just to a place, but to its deepest, oldest spirit. The journey is only beginning, but she carries with her now the promise of discovery and a silent gratitude for the hidden gifts of the forest. Every morning in Kating unfolds softly, like a lullaby played out between earth and sky. Long before the sun pierces the dense mist that nestles in the valley, the song of birds rings clear over the land, weaving through bamboo groves and echoing from the riverbank. The village wakes gradually to the mingling aroma of wood smoke from kitchen fires and the green sharpness of wet leaves. There is the gentle, rhythmic accompaniment of water trickling endlessly from the ever-flowing stream, a poignant reminder of continuity, of life always moving forward. For Lin, the days in Kating now pass with a quiet certainty. No longer is she an outsider, an urban stranger hovering uncertain at the edge of forest life. She has become, as wise Mrs. Wymone said, a true person of the forest. This transformation did not come suddenly, but slowly. One dawn, one shared smile, one shy greeting at a time. Under the patient tutelage of elders and the teasing laughter of the village children, she learns the people's language. First, small things, a mui, meaning mother, then klong for forest, and todom, heart. Each word, once foreign, now feels like a stepping stone guiding her deeper into the village's embrace. The children have given her a name, reflecting the affection she has fostered. They call her Sister Lin the Light. It's not just the literal flashlight she carries as she moves from hut to hut each night to check on the ill and frail, nor just the way her smile brightens the gloomiest evenings when heavy rain plunges Kating into darkness. They mean that she brings hope, a gentle courage, like a flickering firefly leading the way through shadowed groves. Her days fill with healing. A mother's fever soothed, an elder's aching bones eased, the reassurance of touch and words given freely. Yet behind Lin's care for others, a silent struggle hums beneath the calm. She came seeking to mend what was broken, not just in others, but within herself. Often, after evening work is done, Lin finds herself walking with Irin, the gentle, steady-hearted man whose understanding seems as deep as the ancient trees. Sometimes their feet take them alongside the flooded rice paddies, where frogs chorus under vast, inky skies. Sometimes they skirt the edge of the forest, Irin telling her stories only found in these hills. The sacred polang tree whose spirit protects the land. Tales of wild animals seen only by moonlight, and old whispered beliefs about how every soul is intimately woven into the soil they call home. There's no need for many words between them. Their closeness grows as naturally as bamboo in after-rain soil, persistent, silent, but unmistakable. Lin catches Irin watching her with a quiet, constant attention. His gaze never lingering too long, but always gentle, always there. And she finds herself smiling at his careful repairs to the medical station roof, each action silently offering care for her, for their shared work. Theirs is a budding love shaped not by declarations, but by daily gestures. A song without lyrics, carried by the soft breeze through afternoon trees. Yet Lin's heart is heavy, anchored by a sorrow she cannot name aloud. She fled her city life not only to bring healing to others, but in hopes the forest would mend a loss too great for her to face. A traffic accident, sudden and cruel, had stolen her closest sister away. Though Lin had not been at fault, guilt gnawed at her daily. She had been at the wheel. Nothing she could do would change that cruel fact. Each night she is haunted by echoes. Her own cries and her sister's cherished voice, sometimes so real that Lin wakes expecting to find her there, only to remember, always, the absence. Troubled dreams become frequent companions. She hears her sister's laughter, sees her smile across the silvered stream, and awakes with tears on her cheeks. One night, as storms whip the treetops and the whole village seems to huddle against nature's howl, Lynn finds herself drawn to the familiar stream. Its waters, tonight, rush savagely over smooth stones, urgent and restless. She sits, letting the forest wind lash her hair, heart pounding with memories too painful to unravel. Irin joins her, wordless in his approach. He does not attempt to chase away her sadness or offer hollow reassurances. He simply reaches for her trembling hand, his touch steady, grounding. "The forest never hides the truth," he says softly, his words slow as falling rain. "It's just whether we dare to look at it or not." Her pain tumbles out then. Lynn's tears fall freely as she unburdens her soul. The story of the accident, the terrible loss, the guilt that left her paralyzed and desperate for escape. She confesses how sometimes she wishes she could disappear with the past. Irin listens, a presence as constant and unyielding as an old tree firmly rooted against the storm. When Lynn's sobs subside into exhausted silence, he rests his palm gently over her heart. "Your heart is still beating," he murmurs. "The forest still holds you. You're not running away. You're learning to return." In the morning, Lynn knows she must move forward, to walk the boundary between old pain and new life. Alone, she returns to the stream, feels the cold water beneath her feet, remembers laughter and joy shared with her sister, memories now softened by time. No longer do they burn with regret, instead they blossom, gentle and nourishing. The forest wind sweeps past, carrying her hair, its caress no longer mournful, but filled with promise. She closes her eyes and quietly gives thanks, for the love she once knew, for forgiveness, for the life she's been given to live anew. At last, she feels light. Her heart, mended not by forgetfulness, but by acceptance and reverence, beats strong again. Across the way, Irene's figure stands beneath the trees, silent and smiling, content to love from a distance as Lynn steps into her new day. No longer lost, but found, her heart revived in the wind of the forest. In the pale hush of early morning, when the fog clung closely to the ancient trees, Lynn's world shifted with the arrival of a letter. It came by way of the postman, a young man from the district whose motorcycle cut through the stillness of the village. His voice broke the muted dawn, clear and insistent. "A letter for Lynn, from the city." Lynn's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. The neat handwriting inside seemed to blur and dance across the paper as she tried to make sense of each word. Urgency pulsed from the page. Her mother was gravely ill, and in her fevered calls, had been asking for her daughter, the same daughter whose abrupt departure after that fateful incident had left questions hanging like mist in their old apartment. The city, restless and far away, was calling her back. Holding the letter, Lynn wandered until she found herself by the stream. It flowed, as it always had, carving a silver ribbon through the damp earth. Yet today, its gentle babble felt less like comfort and more like a reminder of change. Rather than lull her into peace, the water seemed to edge her towards a decision, a subtle but unyielding distance that set her heart adrift. She sat for what felt like hours, noise and silence swirling together through her thoughts. It was here that Irene found her. Stepping quietly from the shadowed trees, the woven basket on his arm filled with corn cakes and wild berries. This was their ritual, rooted in countless afternoons spent in fields. He would come, wordless and watchful, grounding her with his presence. He asked nothing, only sat beside her, steady as the heart of the forest she now called home. At last, her resolve melted. Lynn handed him the letter. He read it slowly, each line met with thoughtful understanding. He nodded, then returned it to her without question or judgment. His voice, when it came, was low and warm, woven with the patience of old wood and soft moss. "The forest called me here to heal," he said. "But if the call from your heart is to return, then go." Lynn's resistance faltered. Her voice, tight with longing and fear, barely rose above the sounds of the stream. "But if I leave, what happens to me? To us?" Irin met her gaze, his eyes reflecting the steady wisdom of the pines. "The forest does not keep people. It only creates the path. I, too, was born from the forest, But the heart of the forest does not know separation. It only knows how to wait. And in that moment, gentle as a falling leaf, Lin's tears spilled. Not from anguish, but from a profound gratitude at the gentleness in his words. In the vast, enveloping hush of the mountains around them, their love revealed itself for what it had always been. Steady, quiet, unseen but constant. Like an underground stream that sustains the trees above without fanfare. The day Lin prepared to leave the village, the air was thick with a sense of unspoken goodbyes. Mrs. Y. Moan, the village elder, approached with gravitas, a long strand of bright red thread in her hand. Gently, she tied it around Lin's wrist, her touch both fragile and protective. "This is the thread to keep your soul," she said, her voice a tapestry of memory and hope. "You have found your heart. Don't let it get lost again." Outside, a cluster of village children gathered, reluctant to let her go. They hugged her with earnest arms, their faces pressed against her shoulders, and offered her a simple leaf flute, a small, tender gesture. "When you miss the forest, blow it," an older boy said, looking away shyly. "The forest will hear." Soon, Lin was walking down the familiar path to the dusty bus stop on the edge of the village, each footstep heavy with recollection. The forest held its silence. Even the birds seemed to understand the weight of the moment. Irin did not follow. He remained out of sight, but as the bus pulled away and rolled past the first sharp bend, Lin's eyes searched through the thinning mist. And there he was. He stood at the border of the trees, his figure framed by pale light and shadows, holding a bouquet of white polang flowers. Those blooms opened only on moonlit nights, delicate and luminous, the flower of courage and new beginnings. Their eyes met through the haze, no words needing to pass between them. No promises spilled into the air, no parting vows woven. Their bond was deeper than any spoken commitment, built on shared silences, patient understanding, and the abiding certainty that whatever awaited, their hearts would always recognize each other. As the bus shuddered down the mountain road, the familiar shapes of the trees melted away behind her. But Lin carried forward the sounds she had come to cherish. The rushing stream, the gentle hush of the wind through ferns, the faint trill of the leaf flute pressed gently in her palm. Each became a living strand in the tapestry of her heart, an unbroken song without end. And so she returned, not as a runaway, but as one called home by love, a love nourished by the enduring wisdom of the forest. Shadows and fog would part for her in the city, because she bore within her the peace she had found in wild places, and the promise that, somewhere in the hush of trees, a patient heart and the courage of polang flowers would always be waiting. No matter the miles or the years, the gentle resonance of the forest, the pulse of its ancient streams, and the steadfastness of those left behind would dwell within her. Her journey was no longer just an escape, but a return, each step guided by hope, memory, and the quiet, unending call of home.